All right, let's jump right in. Today we're going to talk about something we all think we know, but what if we've got it all wrong? I'm talking about feedback. We're going to peel back all the corporate buzzwords and look at what is actually happening inside your brain when someone gives you feedback. And here's a hint. It has way less to do with personal growth and a whole lot more to do with survival.
Okay, let's just start with this quote because it really gets to the heart of it. A rule, that's just an instruction. It's external. But feedback is something else entirely. It's like a mirror. It's not just telling you what to do, it's showing you who you're turning into. And that distinction, right there, changes the whole game.
So to really wrap our heads around this, we've got to do a little unlearning first. We need to clear out some of the old, dusty definitions of feedback that are holding us back.
First thing we need to get straight, and this one is huge, is that feedback is not advice. I mean, think about it. Advice is something like, hey, you should try this. It's a suggestion for the future. You can take it or leave it. It's optional.
Okay, next up, it's not a correction either. A correction is all about the past, right? It's someone saying, you did that wrong. It's a judgment on something that's already over and done with. And the last myth we gotta bust, it's not just an opinion. Sure, it comes from someone's point of view, but its real power isn't in the words themselves. The magic is in how our brain grabs onto those words and what it does with them. Okay, so if it's not advice, not a correction, and not just an opinion, then what on earth is it? Well, the answer isn't in a management textbook. It's in our neuroscience. It all comes down to how your brain is wired for one thing above all else: survival. So here it is. This is the definition we need to use from now on. Feedback is any piece of information that your brain flags as a critical signal about your survival. It's not a nice to have, it's a need-to-know piece of data about where you stand. Every single time you get feedback, whether it's a direct comment from your boss or just a subtle look from a friend, your brain, deep down in its most ancient parts, is asking one single question. What does this mean for my position in the world? This isn't some intellectual exercise. It's a deep, primal gut check on your safety and social standing. And here's what's actually happening on a biological level. That signal can go one of two ways. Good feedback? That can light up your brain's reward systems the same way food or money does. But negative feedback? Whoa! That can trigger a threat response just as real as seeing a predator in the wild. Either way, it plugs directly into our need to belong, because our brain is constantly processing this stuff as data about our status in the tribe.
And this comparison just lays it all out, crystal clear. We process instructions as just words. They're an external push, and honestly, we can ignore them if we want. But feedback, we can't ignore feedback. It feels personal because our brain doesn't hear words, it hears status data. It becomes this powerful internal signal that screams for our attention.
So where does all this intense wiring even come from? Well, this isn't some new phenomenon. This is ancient software, and it's still running the show in our modern world. I mean, just think about it from an evolutionary perspective. For our ancestors, being accepted by the tribe was everything. Approval meant you got food, protection, safety. But disapproval? That meant you were on your own. It meant danger. Our brains are still running that exact same program today, and that's why feedback can completely bypass rational debate and just trigger this automatic need to get back in alignment.
Okay, so we get the why now, right? It's a deep-seated survival instinct. But the really big question is, how does this actually work in practice? How does it create real change without you having to nag or argue or force anything? Well, it's actually a pretty elegant three-step dance. Imagine a mentor who, instead of giving a long lecture, just gives a tiny, precise piece of feedback. Something like, hey, a bit faster on that turn. That's step one. Step two is where the magic happens. The mind hears that and starts to self-correct. An internal adjustment begins. And over time, with enough of those tiny adjustments, the new behavior just becomes automatic. The change comes from the inside out, not the outside in. So what's the psychological mechanism behind this? It all comes down to a simple idea. Our brains absolutely hate unfinished loops. When you get feedback, it creates a little gap in your mind between who you are now and who you could be. And that little gap, that unresolved tension, is an itch that your brain has to scratch. It creates a powerful internal drive to close the loop.
And this right here is where things get really, really powerful. Because we're not just talking about changing what someone does anymore. We're moving into the realm of shaping who they believe they are.
This is what truly strategic feedback looks like. It's not a big, loud announcement. It's quiet. It's incredibly precise. It's timed perfectly, so it lands with real emotional impact. And then, and this is the most important part, it just disappears. The person giving it gets out of the way and lets the other person's brain do all the heavy lifting.
Because here's the ultimate payoff. When feedback is delivered this way, it doesn't feel like an order you followed. It integrates. It becomes part of how you see yourself. You don't just act like a person who holds their gaze longer, you start to see yourself as a confident person. The change isn't just skin deep, it's at the identity level. And that is the kind of change that sticks.
So the biggest takeaway here is that real lasting influence, well, it's not about being the loudest person in the room.
And it's definitely not about being aggressive or trying to force your will on someone else.
True influence is quieter than that. It's more precise. It's simply about understanding how we're all wired and giving the right signal at the right time. It's not loud, it's not aggressive, it's just incredibly effective.
So when you boil it all down, what we're really talking about here is invisible power. It's a fundamental force of human connection that's happening all around us all the time. And now that you can see it, the only question left is, how are you going to use it?